7 o'clock, we're going to call the meeting to order. Can you call the roll?
Lees.
Here, I'm sorry.
Owen. Owen. Here. McGrath. Here. Teller. Here. Miller.
Here.
Burke.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here, and I'm just going to the order she's got it here. Now, can you stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as always, we will start with 207's best. Dr. Presley.
Outstanding. Hi, everybody. Gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Jill Patel, who is our 207's best this month in the area of academic achievement. Every month we have the various categories and we kind of put the word out and say, to open up the faculty and staff, who do we think fits the category. And this is the category that comes up 4 times in the year, and Jill's name has been right in there absolutely every time from a number of people. And she is absolutely a high flyer at Maine East in terms of being very academically gifted. She's done very, very well. The thing about it is, and this is, I'm sort of famous sometimes at maybe giving a backhanded compliment. I don't want that to be this way because everything that I know about Jill is, all of the praise I've heard is well-deserved in the little bit that we've had a chance to chat. She's not right at the top of the class, but when you sort of take a look at everything she does, she's right up there consistently all the way across. Academically, in terms of the way she's regarded by her peers, in the comments that I hear from the teachers and from the students, just have such an incredible amount of respect for her. And I think the thing that really sets her apart, again, she's done sort of AP and accelerated everything as she's gone through. She's been a coach tutor, she's been a member of the tennis team at Maine East, and she volunteers pretty actively at Lutheran General in the pediatric ward, which is really a passion of hers. The thing that I want to share with you was what Judy Tyler, who is AP bio teacher, kind of shared the following account with me about Jill. Said, I can recall multiple examples of Jill's dedication and tenacious desire to learn, but a recent example involved an inquiry lab that our class had undertaken. We were trying to drive microevolution in a population of fast plants, and our 12-week inquiry lab was finally being evaluated by the students. Of course, Jill came to me to discuss the best way to analyze her data, and we talked about how to use chi-squared, a statistical analysis formula. After talking it out, we came to a conclusion as to what the expected value should be. That same night, I got an email from her saying, okay, so I've been thinking about this, and I think it should be done a different way. After explaining her reasoning, and she writes, parentheses, I was astonished how insightful it was. We had a class discussion on the best way to proceed. I also found out later that it actually, I think we had to employ the assistance of some professors at a number of universities, and we had to get some of our math people in to help out with the math involved in how to go about that. But long story short, it was ultimately the solution and the manner that they decided to use in the class. So Judy goes on to write, here's what's so amazing about the situation. Jill was able to think outside the box, and she was not content with my explanation. It's rare to find a student that really wants to think deeply about things. Most students are content to be fed. That's not enough for a student like Jill. More importantly, she changes the climate and ultimately the instruction of the class by her presence. She's not afraid to say, wait, that doesn't make sense, or isn't there another way to do that? She exudes a passion for the subject matter, but I have a feeling that this is who she is in all of her subjects, which I can say from the rest of her teachers I think is dead spot on. Just a fabulous young person. I feel pretty good about the future when I think about Jill and some of the people like her that are going to be going out, kind of represent Mother Maine very well, and we're very proud of her and everything she's done and does well for us. Congratulations. Who's here with you tonight?
This is my dad, Mr. Patel,
Very good, thank you. And what are your plans next year?
I've been accepted into the university, so I'm waiting for some more. But I know that wherever I go, I want to learn how to become a pediatrician. I love working with children. I've always wanted to be a doctor, so I was like,
Very good. Congratulations.
Joe, we have a couple of words for you.
Thank you, Joe. Dr. Howitt.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you Periyaman Taprawat. You can call her Fa for short. She's much easier. This is Fa from Maine West. I'm going to start with a quote from one of the teachers because it's something that we found out that all of Fa's teachers believe. She says, Fa could quite possibly be the most extraordinary of all students to graduate from Maine West High School. 9 out of the 10 teachers who recommended Fa said this is the best teacher, the best student I've ever had in 28 years, in 20 years of education. And when I asked the 10th teacher, I said, hey, you know, is this one of your best students you've ever had? Yeah, I just didn't say that. So of all the teachers that recommended Fa for this award, all of them are saying that this is the best student they have had in their teaching careers. And it's because she's so well-rounded, so insightful, just an incredible young lady. She's got a 4.8611 GPA at the very top of her class. She has taken the most rigorous curriculum, of course, all AP classes. She's been a member of Model UN, President's Club, National Honor Society, Voice for the Nameless. Last summer, she raised money she took a trip to Thailand, and she knew that while she was there, she was going to go to an orphanage. So she raised money and bought toys and held a dinner at the orphanage for the kids and presented them with toys and did arts and crafts for them. This is what she does in her free time. Her teacher, Miss Vaughn, had a great quote. She said, in class, there's a student who sits in front of Fa who just listens for Fa to whisper what the teacher is going to say next before the teacher says it. And what's neat about that is you know the student because he was 207's best last month, Ben Grisette, who got those 2 perfect ACT scores, and Ben says, yes, I listened to Fa first and then I hear it. So it's confirmed. AP government teacher wrote pages and pages. What I explained to Fa was that what I do is I ask the teachers for a blurb about our students, and these teachers wrote pages and pages, and I had to try and pull, you can see I couldn't make it quite onto one page. Fa is English as a second, English is her second language, yet her English teachers are saying that she analyzes literary works beautifully. She writes beautiful science lab reports that the teacher has given 100% on, and in the teacher's career has never seen such perfect write-ups. Her math teacher, Mr. Musha, calls her a natural leader as well, because she uses the work of other students in the classroom in examples that she gives to help students learn even more within that classroom. So I said, in just this short amount of time at Maine West, Fa has made an incredible difference, not only for her teachers, but for all of the students in her classes, and she's truly one of the most extraordinary students to graduate from Maine West, and we are very, very proud of you, Fa. So tell us who's with you and what your plans are for next year.
My friend Romano and my mom, Tanya Coachman. And then next year, I plan to double major in molecular biology and international relations. And my top 3 choices right now would be the Foreign Service School at Georgetown, Harvard, or Columbia University.
Awesome. And I forgot to add, she sings like an absolute angel. She sings the national anthem and people weep. Okay,
Congratulations.
Mr. Messmer.
We are very proud to present Carolyn Schneider as 207's Best Food in Maine South. I don't get to be 207's best in academic achievement without taking the most difficult courses that our district has to offer. And Carolyn's taken all of them, accelerated, as well as AP Calculus, English Lit, AP Spanish, showing she's a very well-rounded student. She excels in all of those, different areas. She's been recognized for her hard work as Student of the Month 4 times, Accelerated Chemistry Award winner, Social Science Department Award winner, Foreign Language Award winner. She takes all those awards home, and I expect to see her crossing the stage multiple times at the end of the year in our senior award ceremonies. Also, though, in her free time, she's a member of the National Honor Society, she's a Hawk Pride leader, a member of Key Club, and she's also a Southbridge Features writer. She's also highly involved in her community, and I think some of her community involvement really has colored the character, just the exemplary character that Carolyn has. She is very active in her church community, St. Paul the Cross. She's been 3 years has been honored as the Vicariate Youth Leadership Award, has won that award at her church, and also has put together a retreat leader and reformed some of the things they've done at the church and taken that leadership role. Her teachers can't say enough about her. A couple of things, Mr. Pascosa, Carolyn is a great student and an even better person. The best way I would describe her is as an understated leader. Carolyn is soft-spoken and never feels the need to assert her voice unnecessarily, yet eventually she is the person her classmates turn to for guidance. She has an inner strength that helps her lead effectively. Ms. Braverman calls her the English teacher's delight, a model AP English student with a heightened literary sense and a sophisticated command of the language. Whether she's writing about a harrowing ride on rapids, the benefits of talking to passengers on an airplane, or the complexity of Shakespeare's Hamlet, she writes with depth and style. And her insightful remarks during class discussion propel other students thinking and questioning. She leads in a confident, humble way. Between the work that she does in her church community, and she had some pretty unique experiences. Carolyn had the opportunity to travel abroad in People to People, and as I listen to Fa, I think of Carolyn as well, as she had an opportunity when she was in Italy, I believe, to do some work in a hospital there, some volunteer work as she was overseas. And additionally, she's been involved in the National Youth Leadership Forum on Medicine in Washington, D.C., where she had the opportunity to be involved in discussions and debates and forums held on medicine and the state of medicine in the country. And as I'm sure Carolyn will mention, that's a career she's interested in. By exposing herself to life beyond our community and soaking in those life lessons that you can learning from others, you've made yourself not only a citizen of Park Ridge that we're proud of, but a citizen of the world that we're proud of. And I look forward to all the contributions that you'll make not only at the school this year, but as we watch you go forward in college and the world. So we're very proud of you and proud to call you 207's best. With you tonight and what your plans are?
My mom, my aunt, and my friend Anna and her mom. For college, I'm not quite sure yet. I've been accepted to a few places, but I know I want to do molecular biology as well, and Spanish. I really enjoy Spanish and learning about other cultures, and I hope to study abroad and maybe do a service project during college and research as well.
Carolyn, Fa, and Jill, you're going to step into the hall with your principals and Mr. Berry over there for some pictures. And if the rest of you are planning on leaving, now is your opportunity to leave. But you are, of course, welcome to stay here for the rest of the board meeting. Okay, we're moving on to the public comment section. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board? Okay. Updates from board members.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
And you should find at your place a little brochure that was presented on Saturday morning at Maine West to a group of approximately 100 students from all the CSL schools except for Waukegan. For some reason they weren't able to make it, could have been the snow. This program was sponsored by the Des Plaines Youth Commission and was funded by a grant from the Healthy Community Partnership Des Plaines. But it was really interesting to watch. First of all, they had a little social time to begin with, and then a motivational speaker named Randy Munson, whose program was on creativity. It was very, very excellently performed, and the kids were entranced with that. But then they broke up into small groups with about 6 or 7 different topics. I know one of which was hazing, another one was various different topics, from social networking to et cetera. And all those were student-led by students from Maine West, who were the leaders, the group leaders in each case. And then following that, they came all together and did presentations. It was really an outstanding program. Kids had a great time. Audrey tells me that when it came time to leave, they didn't want to go. They had such a great time. So I just wanted you to be aware of what's going on. And the Youth Commission was the mover and shaker on this. Bob Neal and Mary Dankowski from the Des Plaines Youth Commission. Bob is a retired policeman, also a clown, and I mean that in the best of sense, the Ringling Brother type clown. And that was his connection with Randy Munson, who has worked with Bob over the years. Bob, you have anything else to add to what I said?
It was an amazing Saturday. So many different kids there from all CSL schools coming together. The kids, I don't know if you said this, but the kids, in their feedback, she said, we would have liked to have stayed even longer. It was only 2 o'clock, and they started at 2 o'clock. But they really enjoyed it, so I'm sure it would be.
What was the total number of students up for this night?
I believe we had 110 students there.
It was just a very enjoyable experience to watch them interact from all these different schools with, lots of different backgrounds. It was just very enjoyable.
They're charged with creating an action plan on a given topic, and that's what they discussed in their breakout sessions. And they had to, on a flash drive, do a quick presentation, and we're going to compile all of that and give it to each of the schools, because they had to, for example, the 24/7 policy is implemented differently in all of our different schools across the CSL. So they shared what their policies were and how it's implemented, and then put their action plan in place. So I'll share that with all of you once we have the booklet created from all of the different discussion groups. So
I mentioned bullying and her several different topics, social networking, what else?
social networking, stress amongst high school students, bullying and hazing. I think that was it.
Okay. Anyway, it was very enjoyable. Just wanted to share that with you.
Person, I just don't understand how you can interpret 24/7 differently than 24/7.
And 24/7.
Yes,
The
exactly.
implementation of the policy.
Yes. Okay, any other board members? Superintendent, do you have anything? Okay. Ms. Lindley, you can give us an update on the pension legislation.
Thank you. Got one handout. Well, first I need to start by thanking the district, thanking the board, and certainly the administrative team for allowing EdRed to call this place our home base. There is no doubt in my mind of the fact that we have Maine as our home, that we are able to better represent our members, we're better able to be an effective organization representing the school district in the North and Northwest suburban area. So first of all, thank you very much for allowing us to be here. And in my 8 years working for EdRed, this is the first time I've presented the public board meeting, so that's great too. Eric Lace is a member of our executive board. He used to mention that too. We certainly respect what Eric brings to the table as an elected school board member. It's great that we started with students talking about all the great things that they're doing, because now we're going to talk about pensions and really depress the room for a couple of minutes. So I know that you have a package headed tonight, so I'm going to respect the 10 minutes that I've been given to give you a very brief overview of where the conversation stands.
Who in the world authorized 10 minutes?
CNA, that's fine. My office is right down the hall, so you're welcome to pop by anytime if you'd like to have a face-to-face conversation. Email, phone call works too. So Lord knows in 10 minutes I can basically go through some of the acronyms and pensions, and that's about it. So if there's any follow-up that you'd like us to do, we're certainly happy to do that. So we're in a new General Assembly, right? 3 weeks ago, there was a new General Assembly sworn into office. So we're now in the first year of the 98th General Assembly. Even though we've been talking about state pension reform for 4 years, and a lot of good work has happened over the past couple of years, and really over the past couple of months, we are still a long way in my mind to passing comprehensive state pension reform. And it's not a matter of if, it really is a matter of when. The pressure of the state budget, the pressure of the state pension system, I should say, on the state budget has really called us into a crisis stage. And I do expect that there will be additional attention paid to state pensions before the legislature adjourns at the end of May. Before they pass a major pension reform package, though, there are 3 things that I think they need to figure out, the legislatures need to get together to figure out before that big bill is presented. So first of all, they need to figure out how they're going to address the constitutionality of any benefit reductions, right? That's really the big piece hanging out there. We know that any pension reform package that's passed that includes pension reductions is going to end up going to the court and work its way through the judicial system before we determine if that's constitutional or not. At this point, there are 2, I would say, competing ways or approaches that people are viewing the constitutionality of pension reform. If you take a look at the Everett packet, on page 3, an approach taken by some members of the legislature, most notably President John Cullert, the Senate President, is this idea of offering current employees, so Tier 1 employees and retirees, a choice of their benefit package. We're calling that the choice plan. The major pieces of this package is that current employees would need to choose between the 3% compounded COLA and access to retiree health care. There are other nuances in there, and I've addressed a couple of them in here, but basically people will have the option of choosing between 2 benefit packages. And the view of the Senate President and many other legislators is that that should be found constitutional, because you are allowing employees you are offering employees more than one option. You're allowing them to consider how those options are going to affect their pension, and allowing them to make a choice. So the idea of offer, consideration, and acceptance, they're hanging their constitutional argument on that idea. So that's one idea of how we're going to address the constitutionality of pension reform. The other idea, and this is most notably viewed in the Neckards BIS bill, which is very lightly detailed at the bottom of page 3, is that that's all well and good, but the state is in such an incredible financial crisis. Really, the gray area allowed for the state constitution and federal constitution, that's enough. So in their mind, the fact that the state is in such a dire financial situation allows the General Assembly to change pension benefits, and really anything else for that matter, in order to right the state's fiscal ship. So that's the argument that they're using as to why they believe this package is constitutional. And again, there's full recognition by everyone involved that any pension reform conversation, any bill that's passed through these conversations, is going to be key to the courts. So we know that when the final bill is passed, it's going to be a while until the courts decide if that is constitutional. That's the first piece they need to address. The second piece, they need to figure out if this cost shift idea is going to be part of the final pension package. And later on in your packet, pages 7 through the end, includes a background piece that we put together with a couple of details about that cost shift. So if you have some questions about what that means, you can address that in this document. So again, is the cost shift going to be part of the package? And when we're talking about the cost shift, it's not just for K-12 institutions, it's not just for our school districts, but also for community colleges and higher education institutions or public universities. Now, of course, if the cost shift comes their way, they have the ability to adjust tuition, right, to adjust for that. There's no way that if the cost shift happens for K-12, we're going to be given any new additional levying authority to bridge that gap. So it's simply going to be up to school districts to decide how they're going to rejigger their budgets to pay for that normal cost. Many legislators were lining up on the side that because you guys set salaries upon which pensions are based, you should have more skin in the game, right? We've heard this argument before. So they still set the rules, you guys set the salary, therefore there should be better sharing of pension costs moving forward. There are a lot of other legislators who are saying, well, wait a minute, because our local school districts don't have tuition or other ways they can access revenue, at some point there will be an increased impact on local property taxes, right? Even if you're in a tax cap district, Some districts may decide to abate, some districts may decide to freeze their levies, some districts may decide to go for a referendum. Eventually, there will be an impact on local property taxes. So for many legislators, that's the reason why they don't want to vote for the cost shift proposal. That being said, the Senate President and Speaker Madigan have both come out very loudly, very publicly in favor of the cost shift. So that is still very much in the works, and we'll continue to see that concept moving through the next couple of months. Finally, the third piece that we need to figure out is the effective date of all of these changes. In our mind, you guys negotiated your contracts with your administrative team and with your teachers and support staff based on the current rules. So in our mind, if there's going to be a new game, if they're going to change the rules on you guys, they need to allow you to renegotiate those contracts based on those new rules. Some legislators have no problem saying, whenever we pass a bill, the contract in fact at that time, that's going to be the contract which is effective. In our mind, it should be the next contract that's negotiated, or give people room to renegotiate. Because again, you negotiate these contracts in good faith based on current rules, they should give you some flexibility to negotiate with the new rules. So those are the pieces that they need to figure out before they do anything else on pension reform. Before I go any further, let me just take a quick walk through page 4 here. This is Senate Bill 1. This is the very first proposal introduced in the state Senate a couple of weeks ago. This is Senate President John Fullerton's bill. And basically what this does is it takes both the NECRS-BIS plan and the choice plan and mushes them together in one bill. And the way this would work is that if this bill were to pass, the courts would lead with the NECRS-BIS plan, and they would say, okay, we're going to go ahead and work this through the courts for the next couple of months, years maybe, and decide if in fact it was constitutional. If it is not found constitutional, then they're going to go to the choice plan, move that through the judicial system, and see if that is found constitutional. In my mind, this is very sloppy legislative making, right? Why you would give the court 2 different proposals, basically, 2 different sets of constitutional arguments, and not give the General Assembly time to renegotiate those things doesn't make any sense to me. What I think this does is it is an illustration from the Senate that they want to work with the House, they want to work with all the stakeholders to get something done. So I don't necessarily view this as a cogent package. I think it's just an olive branch to say, hey, we've got some real challenges, we need to figure this out, and the Senate is willing to work with you guys to do that. Very quickly, I just want to talk about the school management response to this. We've had great conversations, great negotiation sessions with our partners from statewide and other regional management groups over the better part of the year, quite frankly. And our position has been the cost shift is coming at a highly problematic time for local school districts. You guys know the budget impact of these things. You know the cuts that have been made at the state level. You know that our local revenue sources are being threatened. So really this proposal, this idea of the cost shift is coming at the absolute worst time for public education entities. However, if the cost shift becomes a reality, if that has to be part of the pension bill, then we've also talked with leadership about mandate relief and governance changes that would give our districts some new flexibility to manage those costs and to have more control over pension benefits moving forward. Basically, we need to give districts some flexibility to find resources to make that payment. In addition, if you guys are going to be on the hook for the cost, they need to give you some new governance policies to allow you to have some more control over pensions. So that's the really quick and dirty sense of how school management has approached this issue. My expectation is in the next couple of months, pensions will go relatively quiet. And then toward the end of session, as we're starting to really talk about the fiscal year 14 budget, that's when the conversations will kick up again. You may know that for next year, for fiscal year 14, which begins in July, the state pension payment will increase by $1 billion. Our national revenue growth during that time will only be $600 million. So that speaks to the structural deficit that we have right now with our pension payment and the lack of money coming in the door to pay for that. So my sense is there will be a very scary, austere budget put out there in the next couple of months, which will cause people to have some very real conversations about pension reform for fiscal year 14. So I think that's about my 10 minutes.
Excellent job.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about any of this or funding or any other proposals that you're hearing about in Springfield right now.
So your sources on being able to pull this together, do you have somebody who helps you with this, or did you do all this yourself?
Our assistant director, Ann Hoffman, is here holding down the fort while I'm off in Springfield.
Wow, and this is a very nice summary of exactly what's going on in Springfield.
Thank you.
And just so you know, colleges have tax caps. The universities might not, but colleges do it. We have tax caps and we have tuition caps, which are driven by 1/3 of our expenditures, of which we can charge no more. But just
Fair enough, and I guarantee they'll give those guys no new flexibility either. That's
Yes.
a good point. That's a very good point.
plug for your website because you do post your updates. So that's a way to keep up to date with things that are coming up as well.
Thank you for highlighting that. I should mention that the pension primer that's at the end, there are a lot of hot links in there that are very, they're worthless to you on paper. But if you go to our website on our legislation page, under pensions, that's all there, and those things are live.
Any questions from the board?
Just wanted to take a quick minute to thank Erica for coming out today. I know a couple of the board members have met her, and our administrative staff is very familiar with Erica, working in the same facility. But being affiliated with both EdRed, and I've also been the board's delegate to the Delegate Assembly with the Association of School Boards for about the same amount of time, it just illustrates how important EdRed is versus the Illinois Association of School Boards. The folks that handle government relations on ISB are excellent, but there's so much tension between what school districts want in other parts of the state versus the immediate suburban area around here, that a lot of things that we need don't necessarily come to the very top with IASB. So this is a very, very important role that Erica and Ann are fulfilling. And 207 was one of the founding members of EdRed.
That's right.
40 some odd years
40 some years ago, before both you were my time.
So thank you very much. And Eldon and I were at a fantastic dinner about a week ago that featured two of our state senators that represent 207, Matt Murphy, who's a small area, and Dan Katowski, who represents a large area of District 207. So great program.
Thank you, that was fun.
Margaret?
Just a couple of questions.
Sure.
We pay into the system, and the money goes, and there's a board that I think does what I would call a relatively poor job of investing and getting returns. I mean, I don't think it's been a fabulous job, which has certainly driven part of the deficit that we have. We don't control that as a school district. We don't have any say over that. What are the proposals, or what are the thoughts out there on how we can ensure that that board is doing a better job in terms of investing the money that they have? Because I don't think, I see a lot of pension investment stuff. I do it as my job. I advise an investment committee for the defined benefit plan where I'm at. And, I don't see a move towards the liability, the liability kind of driven asset models. They seem to be very old school in terms of their investments. And is there a problem in terms of what they're allowed to invest in under the state, the state laws? Or is it just that they just aren't moving towards that innovation, and what can we, or EdRed as an organization, do to help move them forward in their investment strategy, so that we're, the 2007, 8, 9, 10, really kind of, I think, a big disaster in terms of the investment returns there, and that's partially driving what's going on here.
Well, it seems like you have particular insight into this, so I'd love to talk to you about some things that they could do differently. I have sat through their 3-day meetings on many occasions, and a good part of that, about half of that meeting, was spent just on the investment side of what the board does. So I don't think it's through lack of due diligence and through lack of effort. Maybe there are some other models that could rise to the top to help them see how things are done differently. So I would love to talk to you about that. To your point, though, about what we've done to try and address the board issue, really the governance issue, is that currently on the TRS board, it mostly comprised retired teachers, right? And that's fine. I mean, TRS is responsible for a lot of teachers, retired teachers' pensions. But one of the ideas that we've had is that if school districts are going to have the cost share as part of our reality, then we need to have equal management representation on that board.
So kind of a Taft-Hartley
Also before
members
your time.
versus management.
That would have a handle on, actually.
Yeah,
So what we said is of the 4 appointments that currently go to the governor, so he's able to make 6 appointments based on the methodology they use. Of those 6, we want 4. We want 1 for a school principal, 1 for a school business official, 1 for a superintendent, and 1 for a school board member, excuse me. So we want 4 of those positions to ensure that school management has a stake in the game. Now, their decision-making is going to be based on what's best for the system, obviously, but I also sat through those meetings where they changed their actuarial assumptions. So I walked with them through those presentations and through the heartache and heartburn as they were looking at those numbers and what they felt comfortable putting out there. I think those are areas where So that's one of the things that we work to address in these conversations with the leadership.
I would be interested in that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Any other questions? Erica, thank you very much. Nice job.
Absolutely, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Okay. Policy Committee meeting from January 23rd. Ed?
Many of the things in the minutes we're going to cover under policy, I think there's three things, so I'm not going to touch on them. One thing I would like to say, Jim, if you look at the very last full paragraph about public comments, it looks as though that sentence about, that has to do with an ethics policy is part of ethics, and it really isn't anymore. So I'd like the minutes marked separately, because the ethics is a policy going forward, but the ethics policy, which we spent a fair amount of time talking about at the finance meeting, isn't. And if you look at the very end, it says Member Miller may bring up this new policy to the full board. Member Miller's decided that if you can't convince the two people on his committee of the wisdom of an ethics policy, he's not going to bring it up before the board. No, you can leave the entire discussion, but I like a separate title, ethics policy. And the basic concept was that, and this has come up before, those who've been on the board long enough know that I brought this up before, but this is the last time, that I suggested a policy where no board member running for election would solicit any contribution of any sort, cash or in-kind contribution from any employee of the district. And we talked about that, we vetted it fairly at the finance committee, my policy committee meeting, but that's not going forward. Everything else, I think, I'm happy to have Margaret and Carla comment, but I think for the most part, the other part, there's one thing coming back to our committee, and three things that I think are in the agenda later, so that's really all I wanted to say, was to clear up those minutes, because you look at it, it looks as though there were probably enough, and it was at one time, but prior to the policy meeting, we broke it out as a separate discussion, so it's really not part of the nepotism at all. I think it's entitled to its own subject, for whatever minor impact that may have. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Eric, Finance Committee meeting?
Sure, we met the next day on the 24th. Discussed a number of issues. The most significant that's reflected in the committee reports that we're working on right now is exploring some scenarios where we would kind of halt the trend of taxing to the maximum. This has been discussed a couple of times over the last few months. I remember at the December board meeting when the levy was approved, several board members, myself included, expressed reservation in supporting the increase that was recommended by the administration, yet still voted in favor of it. And one board member voted against it, also expressing reservations. I think that it's very important that we know what all is involved in making some reductions. I think it's a very, very serious, important topic that should be considered, and we have 2 meetings scheduled this month to review 3 different scenarios that the administration is preparing, one of which is the current tangent, the second of which is the current tangent with a property tax abatement. We're looking at a 3-year period of time for each of these different scenarios. The third scenario is a 0% tax levy increase for the next 3 years, so kind of a freeze, and what impact that would have. So my expectation is that once the initial scenarios are brought to the Finance Committee meeting, there will be a number of questions of the committee members for the administration. They'll have an opportunity to come back with the answers at the end of the month. So we're going to have a meeting on February 7th, and it looks like we've been able to settle on February 28th as our second meeting in February.
Building and Grounds, Eldon?
We met on Thursday, the 30th. We had 2 major issues that we were discussing. One was potential placement of the noise and, actually not noise, but air quality control station on the main South Campus. We had representatives from the Department of Aviation and the Department of IEPA to give us insight into that. The second item was basically opening the bids for our summer projects to be done at the 3 buildings. So when we get to those items for action items, we have people here tonight from the Department of Aviation and IEPA.
Donna, Education Committee.
Let's start with, I was given this, I think everybody else received one, is the children. It's fast, it's terrific. And if we can get these to our kids, starting with the freshmen, they won't, and sophomores, they will not necessarily be buying textbooks. I mean, just the load off their back would be terrific. And ask Barb to talk a little bit more.
Do you want me to do that now, or when we go to the?
Do it now.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right. We're gonna give you a abstract review of what was a 90-minute presentation, so I'm gonna try to do it live.
I hope everybody saw that.
Yeah, I really didn't want Eric to rub it off on you.
No, cut that. Okay, so, and I'm gonna defer as well to Hank every once in a while, if he wants to chime in with anything I've lost. There we go. What we're asking for here for consideration at the urging of the Ed Committee, who's asked us to bring this forward for you, is a proposal that I think I can say Jovan Gutenberg would approve. In a nutshell, what we're hoping that is ahead for District 207, starting with our freshman and sophomore class, is equipping them, and by them I mean all students in the freshman and sophomore class, with a Chromebook. We would hope to roll in the Chromebook with each freshman class thereafter, so in 3 years all students would have this device. This is not because of the device itself, but it's because of what the device will allow students to do in terms of 21st century skills. We talked at our meeting about 5 of those kinds of skills that have to do with collaboration, communication, creating, demonstrating competency, and so forth. And we'll show you a video clip in a minute that will kind of illustrate that. But very simply, why now? Well, we have been talking about this for a couple of years, and we are not the first district to consider it. Most of our neighboring districts have moved in this direction of whether or not it's a Chromebook or an iPad, but they've moved in the direction of a device to help kids access resources and give them a tool in order to be able to engage in these various practices. But the now for us is that finally the Chromebook, which as we look at all of the devices seems to best fit our needs, has reached a price point that will make it affordable for students and their parents, and also the digital textbooks to be purchased are at a price point at many points in the curriculum that are going to come in at a cost savings for parents who currently have big book bills at the August book sale and each year, actually. So, yes, it'll lighten the backpack significantly, but it's also because this is a fiscal advantage for our parents, and it's a fiscal advantage for the district as we take on the cost of many of our free and reduced lunch textbook purchases as well. And the functionality of the device as well has really come along. It's a more durable Chromebook than it used to be. The speed of it, as you have noticed, perhaps in logging in, is very quick. The battery life can get a student through the day. You don't have the issue of them having to charge up midway through the day. So there are about 11 or 12 other reasons as to why now, but these are really the 2 biggest reasons that I'd like to point to. In a nutshell, the savings that parents in the district are going to see by purchasing digital ebooks that would normally be purchases our department chairman and teachers would want students to have is going to not only save them at the book sale, but over the long term they're going to save, we estimate conservatively $200 or $300 in the 4-year life of the student at school. That very first year, as a freshman student, it will be a little bit more expensive because we're asking them to pay for the Chromebook by the end of their freshman year so they can truly own it and take it home thereafter. And they will have the opportunity to be able to pay for that Chromebook in 4 payments during the year. So in August, the book bill will be a little bit less, but by the end of the freshman year, the freshman year will be a little bit more expensive, but over those 4 years, they'll notice a substantial savings. This is a very short video, but I think it's important that you kind of get a picture in your head of how school and classrooms and how kids interact with each other and teachers can change. This is forget the name of it.
Astoria High School in Oregon.
There we go. And we stumbled on this on YouTube, and it really kind of sums up, I think, where we're going nicely in a short period of time.
It's just an amazing tool that has just opened the whole world to these kids. Our first meeting was a lot of fun to sit down and talk with parents. There was a lot of excitement. Here we'd show them the book, show them how it was going to be used. It was incredibly well received. Kids were excited, parents were excited, and it's worked out really, really well for us with that.
It adds to my lessons, it adds to the students' interest and intrigue and the topics that they're looking into, because they can look into them in ways that are quicker and that they're more accustomed to. So far, I found that when students have to post something that's only in public view, or even if it's just shared like in a class, that they're more thoughtful about their words, and putting it together in a more well-written format, instead of just writing it down, training to me.
I'm gonna begin very shortly doing a discussion group to try and get those kids who might normally raise their hand in class because they don't want to be heard or are afraid, of what they might say, seeing if they would rather type it out. See if I get more responses that way, or if I actually get a response from them than I previously wouldn't.
And that's what you want. A kid is so in tune to learning, not even knowing that he is, focused on trying to get online and find out what the answer is, so we can have his posted up there with the valedictorian's answer.
I would love to see money that is required to be spent on textbooks to be on digital textbooks.
I use it for taking notes, and it's really, really useful because with my wheelchair, I can't carry around a bunch of bags. So having the notebook, it's just like all of the notes for all of my classes in one little thing. It's like super light.
Every student has them, so there's some equal playing ground.
I think it's great because like a lot of kids in our school are in this position where they don't have a computer at home. So it makes it a lot easier for homework to get done, and everyone has equal opportunity.
The city is working hard because of this project to make sure that the entire internet is broadcasted downtown. Florida kids that do not have access at home can go downtown. And when this group comes in and our kids are in the community, they're the best thing to sell the school. And it is for our community, it's just a little bit closer. So I feel good about that piece of it also.
What's the cost per unit?
So, the next slide. The Chromebook itself is about $250. There are some package pieces that are ones that we would want to include in this to bring the price up to $319. Included would be the case, which is much sturdier than the old cases we used to have. And more important are the management tools and the monitoring tools that will help teachers kind of keep track of what student screens are pointed towards. It will also assist us in deploying some of the extensions. The graphing calculator is an app that we can push out to the students using the management tool. And we're even looking forward to, well, I won't say looking forward to the PARCC assessment, but when it comes online, we have to meet the challenge of how we do state testing. Now, we don't have to worry about scheduling kids into computer labs. We can put the Chromebook into test mode, which prohibits the students from going anywhere else but what they need in order to do those state assessments. So that's going to be a huge help for us at that point in time, a couple of years from now. There is also going to be offered an optional insurance package for parents. This is not part of the $319, but for $30 a year and $100 deductible, you can insure your device, and I think it's $10 more. You can throw in your iPhone, your iPad, your, all of your devices if you want to include it in that package.
And it insures them against?
Loss, breakage, theft, mechanical's covered by Google.
On the PowerPoint that we sent out to you in advance, the fuller PowerPoint, the very last slide had some live links on it. One, I believe, was to the insurance plan, if you want to see all the details on that. So, finally, as we were looking at how the stars were aligning for this and talking with all of the administrators who have gone back into the departments and identified where they can identify texts that they would want to go to that now can be available digitally. To make this happen for next fall, the Education Committee urged me to bring this proposal to you tonight to consider whether or not you would feel comfortable approving it. We could wait till March. Obviously, if we had the extra month, it would be helpful. There is a lot that we have to do once the decision is made. Obviously, besides ordering and getting organized for deploying those, there's a lot of professional development that's going to be exciting, but also is going to need some careful thought in helping teachers take advantage of these devices to change how they deliver instruction and provide opportunities for kids to engage in the digital resources out there. We also know, too, that we've got to do some careful communication with parents and to be sure that they understand the implications of this and the costs and so forth. So I guess I leave it to you at this point for some questions, unless there's anything else you want to add, Hank?
No, there is a key point that needs to be made. And Hank would tell you this, we've been talking about one-to-one for about 5 years. This is not a new conversation here, and it's not new. There are plenty of districts that are doing it. But the tipping point has happened within the last few months, where even a year ago, you could get digital textbooks, but the cost would be equivalent to the current hardback. What's happened now is you can get these digital textbooks for a fraction of cost, literally $20, and you're getting access not only to the textbook, but all of the related material. That's really the tipping point issue. So now when you factor in the cost of the device and a much lower cost over 4 years of lower books, you're literally saving families money. And that's really what, I think, why Barb and Hank feel that the time is right on this now.
And I think it's also important to point out that we are, as a school district, the largest family in the district because of free and reduced purchases. So whenever we save a family money, we're saving the district money as well.
You back a slide for me?
Back a slide, please.
Back a slide. Okay, so in the 319 package, this does not include my textbooks for the year.
No, it doesn't.
So how much more am I paying for my textbooks?
Yeah, we anticipated you might want an example. So you want to explain?
Sure. So typically, this is just comparing only the textbooks where we see a savings in ebooks. So this isn't a full checkout cart, but it's an apples-to-apples comparison.
And in the core areas, we really haven't even looked at elective areas yet because we wanted to make sure that in our core academic areas was valid.
So this is an example of a book bag at East for social science, math, science, I think, and maybe some English. So your cost for these books at checkout for brand new textbooks would have been $360.07 when you checked out in August. Now, we do a book buyback at the end of the school year. So the total cost for that school year's books at the end of the school year would be $232.54. The idea of the Chromebook and ebooks would be your ebooks plus an $80, 1/4 of the payment for the Chromebook at checkout. So in August, instead of paying $360, you pay $123.50. However, you'd still have 3 additional payments to make over the course of the first school year, bringing your total amount spent $362.50 at the end of the school year, acknowledging the fact that your total cost over the course of freshman year is more expensive than it would have been with traditional books. However, at the end of the year, you still have a computer, you haven't sold back all of your resources. And there's a cost savings, I think a little over $225 that we've already established over the next 3 years in textbook savings. And this is even without now being able to have the device in hand makes it more realistic for us to go after more ebooks and pursue that option in greater capacity.
So I'm $130 higher going with the ebook option.
For freshman year.
After year 1.
Yeah, but you have the computer.
I understand. So what you're saying is, even taking into account that additional $130 at the end of 3 years, 3 additional years, or my junior year?
By the end of your senior year.
So
after
4 years. At the end of 4 years.
Yeah.
Even accounting for the additional $130, I'm $225 down.
Yes.
Okay. Savings.
In savings.
I understand, $225, yeah.
But the potential is more depending on what other books are available in other non-core areas.
We've already gotten the heads up that by 14-15, a lot of the sources of our traditional print textbooks are moving to the digital world as
And they
well.
wouldn't have to buy a graphing calculator either.
That's right.
Well, that's part of the savings.
That's part of the savings.
That's, we
Figured it
figured
out.
that
That's
out,
figured,
yeah.
yeah, that's a big chunk of the savings.
Yeah.
Graphing calculator run.
$90 on sale.
And again, the whole concept's scalable, so once the publishers, once the big ones have gone to $20 ebooks, they'll all follow. The second thing though, and this isn't really reflected, this is a pretty conservative estimate. The second thing though that I think you're gonna see more of, some of our teachers already do it at some level, is textbook-free classes. It's possible now through freeware, Stanford puts stuff online, I mean, a lot of the, MIT puts stuff online. You could build any class today with free software, free materials, and not even necessarily even need a textbook. And I think you'll see more of that.
I really don't have a problem with the e-books thing. I do have a comment though. It seems to me that we could get a little earlier heads up on the direction we're going with technology. This is $1 million item. I know it may not cost us $1 million, but it's $1 million. We're going to approve a bunch of things that were reviewed at the Finance Committee, far less than that. And I think this raises a lot of issues, including security, improper use. Are we responsible if they lose it or break it? I mean, you mentioned communications with the parents. I think that this is the kind of thing that fits right into the wheelhouse of what the board should be doing, studying carefully. So while I don't, with the recommendation of the Education Committee and the recommendation of our administrators, I really don't have a problem with approving this. I think this is abrupt. And I think that we should have, as we used to, a multi-year technology plan, so we can say, look, 5 years from now, we're planning to go to Chromebooks. 3 years from now, we're planning. And I feel the same way about a couple of things we reviewed recently. It's been $1 million items. We need it right away. We got to get it. So what I would suggest, and it may be more appropriate in a subsequent meeting or elsewhere in this meeting, is that we have a technology committee. And I think the Education Committee's done a good job with this. I know you just met 5 days ago. You couldn't have had a lot of time on it either. I don't think I personally got the slideshow that you mentioned. If I did, I apologize. I've been trying to read all.
I did send it out to your board address.
Okay, I've been trying to read everything. I didn't see it until tonight. But even if I did, even if I got it a few days ago, it seems to me that $1 million with all the policy issues, improper internet usage, whether kids can afford them at home, whether the parents are going to see this immediately, that there's an actual savings, and whether we're going to do a lot of blowback. I think these are all reasons why we could use more time in this. And I understand that we want to approve it tonight. To me, I think what I would suggest is that we have, as I said, a committee specifically authorized to work with the technology people. It would be nice if a couple of board members had, for example, Eric and I, a few months ago, dropped in on what was it? There was a thing that right in this room here after one of our board meetings, and there was a presentation by a school that was using iPads. I don't doubt for a second, Hank, that you looked carefully at iPads. But we were pretty impressed with the way they had used iPads. Now, I know you decided on Chromebooks, but the thing that is missing, I think, is board involvement. That is really a big budget item. And I think I would feel more comfortable on a kind of a systemic basis, just having a little bit more time, having a little bit more heads up, understanding the options, having a committee or something set up specifically to work with you so that we would be able to address these issues rather than have it. In my case, as far as first I heard about it when I got the board books, but if you sent it to me, maybe I overlooked it, but when we got it about a week ago. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about time to look at these multi-million-dollar expenditures, in this case, $1 million expenditure, upfront cost. Certainly, it's less if we collect from the students and so forth. But that's my view, and I really don't have a problem with Chromebooks. I don't think we've had enough time to look at this and think about it.
I would just comment that what Ed's suggesting is along the same lines as the other committees, particularly Buildings and Grounds, has been working at facilities plan for a year and a half now or so. And one thing that the next board president might consider to appoint committees is perhaps folding in, like, for example, and Ed and I just chatted about this before the meeting, but I think it's probably a good direction to consider. Employee relations and community relations who rarely meet, pulling those into one committee, like a stakeholder relations committee or something like that. and establishing a new technology committee to address these types of things, to kind of adapt the board's committee structure to changing times.
Well, one of the things that made sense to me about this was instead of having a hotel of textbooks that you purchased, you purchased this, which you keep for 4 years. It is, once it's purchased, it belongs to the student. It's no longer ours. It's theirs. And if they lose it, and they're insured, okay, and if they lose it.
I interpret what I'm saying to be
Now,
more beyond.
it also gives them the option of accessing through Google a tremendous amount of material. I mean, the library of the world is available, which otherwise they have to come to one of our libraries. This they can take with them wherever they go. And I found out how to make it marginal so I can read it. I think it's amazing, and it's fast. You've got 8 hours of use out of it without having to recharge it, which to me is a real blessing. Where I don't think the iPad does as well. Also, that is more needs. So this was financially a better deal. Who else was at that meeting? What was your feeling about it?
I think that there were a lot of the questions that you brought up were actually raised at the meeting. It was a large meeting, teachers, department heads. It was, because I had a lot of questions.
You're not talking about the education committee?
Yes, that's what it was. It was a large meeting, and a lot of those questions were asked and answered, and I understand what you're saying. I do think that they have really done their homework, and I know you weren't there to hear it, but for someone who was, I left there feeling very confident that this was a good thing to move forward on this.
Mark,
What's a lot of questions.
What's your point of no return in terms of implementing this for next year?
I think we really, next month, need it to be approved, just because of, if you think about the professional development we've got to organize for the summer, we've got to work with our teachers, we've got to get the word out to parents and families, incoming freshmen. There's a lot to do. So, you know, we're comfortable if you want to take another month. Obviously, we could use the month to do some of this work, and we might get started on some of it anyway in anticipation. Hopefully, you'll feel comfortable with it. But I realize it's a tight timeline. I do realize that. I will say, in our defense and in Hank's defense, we do plant seeds. In fact, we have had a couple of rounds of education committee meetings in the past couple of years that we have titled Planting Seeds, where we bring up some of these concepts and start talking about them. Not everybody's there at those meetings, so I recognize you may not have that information. I also remember that last year when we were looking at whether we were going to go to Follett in a different capacity, we explored this whole digital textbook world, and that kind of fell apart for some other reasons. But at that point in time, we were also with board members talking about what was coming. So I guess my feeling is that we need to probably do a better job of getting all board members up to speed in a very comfortable way. I hear what you're saying, but I don't necessarily know that I want to divorce technology from education, because it's not about the devices that we're talking about. It's about the instructional impact of what's going to happen in classrooms and how relationships and spaces and knowledge and work is going to change as we make these changes. So we don't want you just to look at these purchases as boxes and cords and power outlets. We want you to look at it in terms of how it's going to change the relationships.
Could you tell them the list of different schools that are currently using this that are in our area? I think that would be helpful.
When we started investigating it, initially we were out front. Since then, Niles has gone one-to-one, Leiden, New Trier, Stevenson,
211 and 214 are piloting.
are piloting, and we are also right now running pilots ourselves. We have had a Chromebook pilot at each of the schools. We've had an iPad pilot as well. So,
And the board approved those pilots
yes, they
last
did.
summer.
Yes, they did. So it's been kind of an ongoing conversation, but maybe we do need to get more overt and make sure that all board members are hearing all of that information. I just would make a personal plea not to see this as separate from educational impact, because they are married together here.
I think that an important point that you made earlier, that is to Ed's point, the price of the e-books was pretty high until quite recently. I mean, this was in the last few months that these prices have come down to $20. So that's another reason why we didn't push it at that time, because financially it wasn't feasible. Now it is, and I think that's another reason we didn't plan a year ago to implement it a year later. So.
Yeah. The other piece too is we're a district, as you know, that is out there as a leader in terms of Google and Google Apps for Education. And our use of those documents, both by students and by teachers, makes this just a natural fit for us. The relationship between work that kids are going to be able to do and how it's going to plow right into their 24/7 access through Google is amazing. So that kind of also underscored this for us.
Anybody else have any questions?
Do you have an expectation that this Chromebook that's issued to a freshman will have 100% usability for 4 years?
Yes.
It will diminish over time, or?
No, because of the technology that it runs on is built to be sustainable. It updates itself, you don't have to update it, and the processing power needed for it is very little. I have one of the original demo units that Google released about 2.5 years ago, and it runs just as well as the new devices that come out of the box. So, that was one that was built in beta, and it runs just fine.
The other side benefit is we're not going to get stuck with old technology either. In other words, it'll keep updating with each freshman class. We're also going to be able to repurpose some of the classroom spaces that now are static, writing labs and other kinds of labs. Those spaces can be reused.
So you think some of the labs will generally go away?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, which causes us to, that's part of the reason why, sooner is somewhat better for us, because we're going to have to re-envision our 10-year technology plan as well, that goes to the board each year. Because that really shifts what we're doing with replacing writing labs.
That this will generate some considerable savings then?
Yes.
For the district, not just for families
Absolutely.
that are dealing with.
Yeah, well, it's a $218,000 purchase the first year after students pay back. The second year, we actually start saving money. We save $16,000 the next year in textbook costs, assuming that nothing else changes than what we've proposed up here. So it actually, the second year turns into a cost savings.
Then, with the insurance, did you consider at all including that as part of the package? And just
Well, the
raising
student
price a
owns the
little bit?
device, we don't.
Yeah.
So
Because
us
I know
purchasing
that
the
the
insurance.
student population is diverse as ours with 6,500 students, and diversity I'm talking about is, Ed might be able to keep us the same cell phone for 5 or 6 years, but I might have to replace mine every 2 months. I think we probably have some students that may need a new Chromebook every semester, and that could create a, financial strain on the family, so I was,
We're following.
obviously you can say, hey, you probably should really think about this insurance,
Right.
but
Wouldn't the parent know if this
if they're especially prone.
loses everything? And think it would be a
This is the
wise
model that
investment?
Niles has used for the last 4 years,
Yeah.
and they've had very positive response from their families in this model.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Plus, our piloting of the Chromebook at East has told us about what percentage are going to be lost or damaged, so we can kind of calculate that. The other thing I'll bring up too is that you'll probably recognize we used to have Illinois state loan textbook money. That budget from the state has dried up, and whereas we would have several $100,000 that we could put towards major purchases of books across core content areas for large swaths of students, we no longer have that money. And many of those state loan textbooks are now falling apart. So one of the reasons for now is also because, if not now, then we have to come forward with some textbook proposals to replace, maybe a major biology book that's $100+ per student. So there are some other factors. If you go to that one slide on the PowerPoint that I sent out to you, there's about 13 other reasons as to why now is a good idea.
There were enough faculty members at that meeting that were very, very enthused about that. And I was truly excited after using it. It's fast, it's Google, it's a tremendous cost savings over time, and hopefully they don't lose it immediately, if they lose everything. So what they do, there's insurance that they can buy, it's theirs, it's no longer our headache. They
If-
buy it, it's theirs.
If we can still achieve this, if we vote yes in March, then I don't have a problem waiting until March, but I think we have to come with a decision to either yes or no at that time. We can't keep putting it off.
I think we're all yes. And wouldn't it make your job easier to get it approved tonight? Because the hard part isn't buying 2,000, Chromebooks. The hard part is explaining to the parents.
Yes.
It's changing the bookstore setup.
Yes.
Getting this insurance thing covered. And dealing with, and I'm sure dealt with it, improper use, what's their liability, all that stuff. I'm ready to vote on it, as I said at the very beginning of my remarks.
One of the comments on that point was that there were, some of the freshman open houses were gonna be occurring. They wanted to be able to tell the incoming
So
parents.
they didn't buy a computer for the
Right.
kids.
They just
More
let them
times
know.
just got to make it easier.
Or a graphic
I think we're gonna do it, so why don't we do it tonight?
That would be fine with me.
Michael, what are your thoughts since it was tested at your school?
I think tonight, we need to do it now. If we wait another year, I mean, it's inevitable that we're gonna go there. It's a good thing, it's the way we're moving. Like anything new, there are gonna be some things we have to think about it. Give us another month to get faculty involved and to start wrapping brains around it and to think about how we're gonna address it. Absolutely in favor of it.
Okay. And while, Eric, I look forward to not being the president to assign committees soon, I would tell you my thoughts on it are that each committee does address technology issues in and of themselves. And so I think it'd be appropriate maybe to give the charge to the committees themselves to examine technology, because Lord knows Hank is here to help them anyway.
Yeah, I think that pieces of it land in different committees, like, for example, this component, the presentation I discussed is very appropriately placed in the education committee, but finance has dealt with the technology budget a number of occasions. If we were gonna call it cords and boxes, like it was referenced, that it would be put in buildings and grounds, because that's where some of those things are placed. I think that a technology committee is something that whether it's you or anyone should consider in terms of centralizing it. We have really non-operational committees at this point in time. And I think it'd be helpful to have a focus, kind of like, Mary works quite a bit with the finance committee, and Barb works a lot with the educational committee, a committee where Hank is working with some of the things that are under his scope.
One of the things about having students always, we will be buying less computers for the building. The computer labs will essentially not be necessary. Yes, we'll still have computers in use in the library, but the kids have this. Once it's theirs, it's theirs, and our expenses will go down.
It was very exciting. Good news is we'll have additional opportunity for debate when there's actually a motion on the floor. Any other questions for Barb or Hank? Okay. Mary, monthly status of finances. And since Barb took all your time,
Yeah, we're gonna get there, it's December
5
financial
minutes.
report.
Don't ask questions.
Revenue slightly up, good thing. Expenditure,
no, Margaret, I'm sorry, was there something else you wanted to ask?
no, I'm okay. Expenditures, with the exception of the tort fund, because of workers' comp and legal fees are down, largely due to.
So revenue's up,
Revenue's up,
expenses are down.
expenses are down.
That's a good one.
Good news. Are there any questions on the December financial report? Next month, you'll have the mid-year budget update, which is the extensive projections through the end of the year and detailed analysis of how we're doing.
Okay, scrimp update?
Scrimp update, also in your packet for information. In January, we renew our property liability insurance through Scrimp. So it gives you a little bit of background on what is Scrimp, talks a little bit about the workers' compensation model we implemented in 2010, workers' compensation renews July 1. Gives you the property liability budget for 13 and our cost allocation. Our costs for property liability are up 12.5%. We had some large claim, including a little exploding pool at one of our buildings that contributed to us having some substantial property claims, so that's why our share of the pie is up this year. I think Scrimp does a wonderful job for the school district. It allows us to have hands-on decision-making in our direction and gives us, on the final page, the structure of our self-insured retentions and where our insurance levels and deductibles kick in. So I'll also entertain any questions on the Scrimp renewal.
Hearing none. Barb, do you have anything else to say on instructional services, or did you say it all in your
I
very
said
concise
it all.
presentation?
Said it all.
You did a very nice job, thank you. Mr. Superintendent, monthly update on employee requests.
16 this month, all were processed in the process of being processed.
Okay. First reading on policies. Greg, policy 1030.
Yeah, we have a first reading tonight on an anti-nepotism policy that the policy committee reviewed, and this has been about a 2-year in the making process here for this one. So I will take any questions you have at this time. Again, it's the first reading, so we can vote on this next month, potentially.
Okay. Hearing none, we move the consent agenda. Is there any request to pull anything off of the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to move forward with 7, A, B, C, D, E, and F?
Second.
Ed Miller, second, Evan Burke. Questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none, call the roll.
Owen? Aye. Mays?
Aye.
Burke?
Aye.
McGrath? Aye. Miller?
Aye.
Heller? Sullivan?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Number 8, purchase and implementation use of Chromebooks. That the Board of Education approves the administrative proposal to purchase and implement the use of Chromebooks for all students starting first with freshman and sophomore class in 2013-2014 at an upfront cost of approximately $1,068,650 for an estimated 3,350 devices. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please.
Second.
Keller. Motion, second, Burke. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Heller? McGrath? Aye. Burke?
Aye.
Owen? Aye. Mays?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye. Excellent job. And you were nervous 5 minutes ago, weren't you?
I was passionate.
Yes. Okay, Hank, you were nervous 5 minutes.
I was.
Okay.
I didn't need to be.
Okay, we have second reading on policy 1710, memorials of the Board of Education waive first reading's recommendation to the policy committee and approve and adopt the policy above for inclusion in the Board of Education policy and procedures manual. Motion, please. McGrath, second. Keller. Greg, could you comment on this, please?
Actually, real briefly, Maine South would like to establish a wall of honor, and they felt that in the first year of establishing this wall of honor, limiting the number of candidates that they could consider to just 2 would be harmful to the process, and so
It'd
they.
be an empty wall for a long time.
That's right. So they want to fill up that wall quickly, so we have, we're recommending that this policy change be made to allow some latitude for the schools who want to suggest more than 2 candidates.
And this comes as a recommendation of policy.
Good. Any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mays?
Aye.
Heller? Miller?
Aye.
McGrath? Aye. Owen? Aye. Burke?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Approval of bids and awarding of contracts, a roofing bid for Ridderford Roofing, Maine, East, South, and West. That the Board of Education award the bid for roofing work to lowest responsive bidder, Ridderford Roofing, with a base bid of $506,640. Number 1 at $55,197 for a total bid of $561,837. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Burke, second McGrath. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mays?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Heller? Owen? Aye. Burke?
Aye.
McGrath? Aye. Sullivan?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Second item, mechanical work. C, Estatelli Heating and Piping, Maine East, South, and West. That the Board of Education award the bid for mechanical work to the lowest responsive bidder. C, is it Estatelli? Okay, thank you. Heating and Piping with a bid of $732,000. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Owen and McGrath. Questions or comments? Hearing none, call. Go ahead.
One comment,
Yes.
just overall comment. Mary has done a great job getting out and being some of the first, projects out there to be bid this year. And I think that really helped us get bids that were below what we expected to get. for some of this work.
She's always out there getting the winter prices.
Yes, she is, that's right.
When they're desperate for work.
Summer, you need it. She was out there even earlier this year, and I think that's reflected in the bids that we have seen, which I think surprised, I think even Mary on some of them.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. Much of the work belongs to our architects and Mike Gallus for actually doing the work.
But even after they show up on campus, it's Mary up there saying, no change orders, no
Yeah,
extra.
exactly.
Yeah.
But overall, Mary, I think the savings was quite significant.
The bid savings is over $1 million. However, that includes contingency, and with construction, some of that contingency will always be spent.
Mary, we trust that you will keep it down and therefore offset the expenditures Hank and Barb has made.
That's my role in life, isn't it? Yeah.
I spend the money,
I save the money.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Lees. Miller. McGrath. Burke. Owen. Heller. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Electric work, S&H Electric for Maine East and West. The Board of Education award bid for electric work to the lowest responsive bidder, S&H Electric, with a bid of $58,950. Details are found under dependencies. Motion, please. Owen, McGrath. Questions or comments on the motion?
McGrath, second.
Yep. Owen, motion. McGrath, second. Hearing none, call the roll.
Owen. Miller. McGrath. Peller. Lees. Burke. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Masonry Restoration MBB Enterprises, Maine South. The Board of Education award the bid for masonry restoration work to the lowest responsive bidder, MBB Enterprises, with a bid of $297,220. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please. Burke, second. Peller. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Burke.
Yes.
Lees. McGrath. Miller. Owen. Peller. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Site maintenance paving, Schrader Asphalt, Maine East, South, and West. That the Board of Education award the bid for masonry, strike that. That the Board of Education award the bid for site maintenance paving to the lowest responsive bidder, Schrader Asphalt, with a base bid of $330,825, and alternate number 1 of $25,100, and alternate number 2 of $30,860, for a total bid of $386,785. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please. Heller, second. Owen. Questions or comments on the motion? Other than that Mary got all of her change orders built into the one paving bid all at once, so. Hearing none, call the roll.
Lees. McGrath. Owen. Peller. Miller. Burke. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Only two more. Art classroom casement work, Frank Cooney and Company, Maine South. As the Board of Education awarded the bid for art classroom casement work to the lowest responsive bidder, Frank Cooney and Company, with a bid of $99,750. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please. Owen, second. Peller. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Peller. Miller. Lees. McGrath. Burke. Owen. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Auditorium seating, Frank Cooney and Company, Maine East and West. The Board of Education awarded the bid for auditorium seating work to the lowest responsive bidder, Frank Cooney and Company, with a bid of $458,375. Details are found in the appendices. Heller, second. Burke. Questions or comments on the motion?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
I had the opportunity to sit in one of the new seats at Maine West. It's going to level.
Didn't want to get out of it?
They have arms on it. They're very nice.
Sounds like an endorsement.
And whether there's any contracters in the room where they're gonna watch the tapes from one of the two that are taken, remember, no ups, no extras, no change orders. Okay. Call the roll, please.
Miller. Peller. Lees. McGrath. Owen. Burke. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Number 11, intergovernmental agreement, TIF with Rosemont. Recommendation of the Board of Education enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Rosemont and Community Consolidated School District 62 regarding the proposed Higgins-Manheim Road Tax Increment Financing District Number 7 in Rosemont. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please. McGrath, second. Heller. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Peller. Miller.
Aye.
Owen. McGrath. Burke.
Aye.
Lees. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Intergovernmental agreement, Vision and O&M Services, that the Board of Education enter into agreement on behalf of District 207 with Des Plaines Community Consolidated District 62, Park Ridge Niles Community Consolidated District 64, for the purpose of providing vision and O&M services to students enrolled in School District 62, School District 64, and School District 207, in accordance with the students' IEP requirements. Details are found in the appendices. Motion, please.
So moved.
Burke, second. Miller. Questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Burke.
Yes.
McGrath. Owen. Miller. Lees. Peller. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Granting of a temporary easement, yes.
And I have a friendly amendment to table this item,
Why?
because today at 2:30, we got some, what I told are non-substantive changes from the IEPA,
Yeah,
so
and what are they?
I haven't seen them.
Ah, okay. Is there a motion to table the easement for IEPA and Chicago Department of Aviation? Peller, second. Lays, we're gonna table this to a date certain, which is March 4th. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Just a quick comment, we do have, we've already talked with our people here from,
No, what we've got representatives for Chicago Department of Aviation. What I would like to do is get the board kind of, yes, we agree with the concept so that they can start permitting with the understanding that the easement will come if these changes are non-substantive, as we believe they are, that it's gonna be a non-issue, but they can start their process.
What is a non-substantive change to the easement?
I was told there are some changes, and I don't know if you guys have seen them.
This is the group from the Department of
That-
Aviation.
Aviation.
We're not making the changes
The ones
yet.
who are gonna claim they know nothing about this.
To the waiver section, but because I haven't seen them,
I understand your caution. Of course, you know, I challenge you not to bring in changes in the same day the board meeting, but I understand how that goes.
well, that's why I didn't bring it tonight.
I suppose none of you nice people from the Chicago Department of Aviation object to coming back here a month from now.
We could do that, I guess, as Mary suggested, we would really be interested in trying to advance the permitting process though in the meantime. If we do not meet our schedule, we'll probably not be able to meet the commitment that we made to
Okay.
Senator Kukowski.
So how do we advance the permitting process?
I'm sorry?
How do we advance the permitting process?
Well, as we will begin to need to understand the sort of construction impacts of this project, we need to go to the city of Park Ridge to obtain necessary permits, and then also work with ComEd on obtaining utility connection.
there is a time issue involved. It has to be set up by,
April is our goal. Our goal is to test during what we call the ozone season, which would begin in April or May, and if we miss that, then we probably won't be able to do it this year.
Okay, there is no cost to us on this.
Correct, this is
Okay.
simply the granting of an easement.
So what I would actually propose is that we withdraw the table, we revise the motion to make a specific motion authorizing the Chicago Department of Aviation to proceed with the permitting process with the city of Park Ridge. So the motion on the table was who?
Peller, second, Lees.
Any objection to withdrawing it? Any objection to withdrawing it? Okay, so we'll withdraw the motion. So Eldon is moving the motion to permit the Chicago Department of Aviation to proceed with the permitting requirements for the city of Park Ridge and contacting ComEd on utility access, etc. Is there a second, please? Second, Keller. Questions or comments on the motion?
Quick one, are these things controversial, and I guess the question, I think the air quality side of it is no problem. My questions are, how does it look, how are the neighbors gonna respond? And as part of the contract, without even having to look at it, to completely restore the property to its original condition.
Right.
We had a picture of it last month in the
Yeah, I've never seen it,
letters that
but
I
I'd
wrote.
like your reaction.
Absolutely, yeah. Just let me introduce myself if I may. My name is Amy Malik. I'm Deputy Commissioner of Sustainability and Environment for the Chicago Department of Aviation. With me is Ernest Kurbach. He's with the Illinois EPA, and he will be helping to assist in the conducting of the air quality monitors. So if you can speak to the sort of appearance, because you guys operate a lot of these.
In general, what we're looking at here is roughly a 10 by 10 fenced-in area where we will have a I guess it's a 4x4 enclosure that will house one of the instruments. The other instrument is, I would say that it's roughly about 12 inches by 12 inches by about this high. It'll need to be put on a pedestal in order to meet the quality assurance regulations that apply to sampling.
And that'll be fenced too?
Both items will be in the same fence, correct.
And you haven't had a lot of problems with neighbors feeling these things are, communicating with aliens or anything like that?
Only in downtown Chicago.
Where they're actually communicating with aliens. I have a question for Sean, actually. Thank you, and I'm sure other people. I saw somewhere, Friday note, something about a question of kind of baking this into a curriculum so that you can kind of look at this from a scientific standpoint. Does that have legs, or is there any problem with getting the data?
No, actually, I floated the idea prior to this meeting to some of our science teachers, who I think Dylan has left. There's a couple of classes that this fits directly into, and we were going to work with our partners to get readings in a timely manner that the students could then actually work with and do some work. Very good opportunity for it.
I have no other questions.
I just had a quick question. Are you going to planning and zoning for the city of Park Ridge? Is that, do you know who you're going to?
Yeah, that is likely.
Planning and zoning?
Yes.
Okay. And so they won't need, to know that we've granted these, do you know when that meeting is, or?
No, we
Okay.
have not set that up.
They can at least then approach the city and say we give them permission for them to approach. And that way, when they contact Mike, the superintendent, they can verify. Any other questions or comments? I think I would like to thank the Illinois EPA. You know, it's funny how she was putting it all on you, like you weren't in the room, and then, oh, by the way, here's the EPA.
You just have to sit behind me.
Did you feel that process?
I'm kind of used to it.
The Chicago Department of Aviation and Senator Kotowski for all the hard work that came into this. This was an issue that we had discussed 5, 6, 7 years ago, and had a substantial amount of debate throughout that time. A lot of people are concerned. So we appreciate what you're doing to try and help us out here.
Thank you.
I know Dan will be pleased to know that we've made a decision, because last Friday night at our dinner, he was very inquisitive about where we were on this, so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Call the roll.
McGrath.
Aye.
Burke.
Aye.
Lays.
Aye.
Owen.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Heller. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Calendar items, February 18th, President's Day, no school. March 4th, we have an education committee meeting, and the next board meeting is that day. Education committee meeting is beginning at 6 o'clock, not 5:30. Regular meeting of the Board of Education with a secondary meeting, if needed, is March 11th. And we will determine at the March 4th meeting whether or not that is necessary. And then March 25th through the 29th is spring break. There is no school, but that doesn't mean people aren't here working. So, any other calendar items? Eric, you said you have 2 finance
committee meetings scheduled. The next one is
March, February 7th.
7 at 4 p.m. And the one following that is February 28th at 8 a.m.
Okay. Any other comments, calendar comments? Okay, any other communications to come before the board? Okay, do we have a motion to proceed to closed session on, Greg, do we have any student personnel items? No student. Review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, and dismissal of specific employees, probable imminent or pending litigation, and collective negotiating matters. Keller, second. Owen, questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, call the roll.
McGrath. Aye. Heller. Owen. Lays. Miller. Burke. Sullivan.
Aye, motion carries unanimously, and it is 8:35, and we are in closed session.